Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys, and today we're going to talk about the long-term test of some of the performance modifications I have on my Q50. So guys, hit that intro. Welcome everybody back to Boost in Motion, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you. So welcome back everybody. So I want to talk about some of the performance modifications that I have installed on my car for about the last 2 years. So we're just gonna dive right into it. I did make a different video talking about some of this long-term suspension components I have on my car, so you can definitely check that link above, or you can check for it on my channel. But anyway guys, let's move forward, let's talk about it. All right guys, so once again, if you guys don't already know, this is a 500 horsepower Q50 that is pretty much what grew my channel. And we're going to talk about some of the performance components. So let's just jump right into it. All right. If you guys don't already know, I already came out with a video talking about the suspension, tires, and braking that I have on the car long term and the ones I recommend. So definitely check that link above if I put it there. But also on top of that, check on the channel if you guys want to look into if you should purchase these tires with sway bar, calipers, and a few other things. But anyways, one of the first modifications I got done to my car when it comes to performance was the AMS intakes. Now this is a collaboration that they did with Infiniti to make OEM intakes. Let me just take this off. Yes, so I have the AMS intakes. Now I have probably I have about 25,000 miles on this car with these intakes, somewhere around 20,000 miles. And what I gotta sit there and say is I had no problem, no issue with these intakes, especially that technically this is the only intake system that's enclosed, OEM, and they can grant any warranty for if you run into any issues. It's definitely a cone style. What I would also recommend over time is you can actually take out the cone and wash the cones in soap, water and soap, clean them out, and then put them back in. Love these intakes. I believe this is definitely one of the best modifications I recommend on this platform, in the sense of you won't have to run into any issues. Now people have had problems sitting there stating that, well, you really don't gain no performance with these AMS intakes. I gotta say no, you actually gain top end performance if you're either running higher PSI on your turbos or even aftermarket PSI. The OEM intakes perform just as good, but at the higher amount of wheel horsepower, if you're really pushing these turbos, the intakes will definitely help. Now, one of the other second performance modifications that you don't see right now on the car is I got Megan lower downpipes for this car. Now Megan lower downpipes, our cars have two catalytic converters. It has upper and lower. You can remove the lower downpipes without triggering a check engine light or code for this car, right? And one of the best part about that is you actually gain a little bit more, I would say, wheel horsepower. Reason being is at the higher wheel horsepower, at the higher RPM range, there's so much back pressure with the stock OEM catalytic converters. When you remove the second set, it actually breathes a lot better and you have slightly better top end performance. So I've had those those low down pipes on my car for, I would say, about 15,000 miles. About 15,000 miles. I have had no issues, no check engine light, and when I installed them, I had them on the car for about a good year with just the JB4, but we'll talk about the JB4 later. But I didn't run into any check engine lights. So when people sit there and say, do I need to get an oxygen sensor spacer? You should not, as per AMS, D1 Motorsports, and a few other companies that make lower downpipes for this car. Now, you also won't be able to see it too. Oh my God, no. What also you won't be able to see on this car is that I have a complete Rev 9 YPIPE and mid-pipe combo. Now what is that? Our cars have, like I said, upper downpipes, lower downpipes. It also has a YPIPE, and then it goes to a mid-pipe, and then it goes to an AXLEBACK, right? So the CATBACK consists of a YPIPE, mid-pipe, and AXLEBACK. Rev 9 sells you a YPIPE and mid-pipe combo that can bolt up to pretty much any orientation of lower downpipe, and it should be able to bolt up to any orientation AXLEBACK from any other company. So it's super interchangeable, and I definitely love that for the car. Now I've had it on the car for probably about, I would say, 10,000 miles. Some people are sketchy about the quality of it because they use a more cheaper steel. I wish I had the car on lift to show you guys when last time I worked on the car, how it looked. But what I would say is, with the type of steels you work with, some rust up a little bit easier over time. This has been on my car for almost a year now and about 10,000 miles. Yes, some of the chrome looking chrome looking finish starts to wear off, but rusting wise, it's actually pretty good. I have had no issues with it at this current moment. The flex pipes seem just fine with the added amount of power from this car. And it being right around I believe $400 for YPIPE and mid-pipe combo, it's definitely a big increase on the CATBACK exhaust because it's 2.5 inch and you can pair them up with any lower downpipes that you currently already have. And for my car, just to jump into the second part, I had the AXLEBACK from Rev9 too. That was right around $300 just for the AXLEBACK. It was a TUNING style AXLEBACK. If you guys already don't know, just go and Google it. You'll see a TUNING style AXLEBACK. It literally looks just like that, and it was about $300, and it sounds great. But what I would say with that AXLEBACK that I disliked about it is, if you want to talk about it a little bit, they had this little bracket on it, and that little bracket actually ended up cracking, or like they tack welded it, and it ended up cracking over time, I guess because of a lot of vibration. They just didn't weld it good enough, so that little bracket like broke off. Also, there is slight fitment issues with the passenger tip, so you may need to modify it a bit more. From what it seems like, you have to modify the passenger side one more. In our case, we ended up just cutting off about, I would say, a ½ inch of metal off the pipe, and that fixed the alignment issue of the passenger side tip. But as people might sit there and say that they might think that will stop them from getting it, I don't think that should hinder you from getting this AXLEBACK, because I believe it's one of the only AXLEBACks that isn't a muffler delete. It's pretty much an actual AXLEBACK, and it gives you a great sound. And you can actually use it on your 3.7 Q50, and it sounds really good, and it's really high quality compared to a $250 muffler delete, which is just 2 pipes and tips. You know what I'm saying? So I still recommend it, but because I wanted a bit more quiet car, and it wasn't really that loud. It really wasn't. People loved how it sounded. It's just that I wanted my car to be super quiet and fast. So I ended up putting the stock muffler back on the car, and now right now my car actually has lower downpipes, Rev9 mid-pipe and YPIPE, and stock muffler, and I think it's pretty quiet. And even on video, let me just start it for you guys real briefly. Let me see if I can get the car to start. Quiet. And that's on stock muffler. I mean, the wastegates are still open. You might still hear some air noises and everything like that. But let me just turn that off briefly. Bear with me, guys. So yeah, when it comes to the exhaust modifications, I'm definitely in love with the way that the car is set up. Now, there's a few other things that you guys don't see when it comes to cooling. Now, this car is also fitted with Burger Tuning heat exchanger, the $400 version before he made the $300 version. So a lot of the links to these stuff is below in the bio, and it's actually right there. I don't know if it's going to be able to show up. Might not be able to show up, but it's a heat exchanger that sits all the way back there, and this allows you guys to run more excessive boosts, and the car won't heat soak as quick over time. You can even use this on your stock car, your stock Red Sport, and it will definitely help in keeping some of the power. But longevity wise, all heat exchangers will heat soak after a certain point, especially depending on how hot it is outside. Now, my car is also fitted recently. Oh, also, let me just talk about it. Sorry, guys. I've also had that heat exchanger on the car for about 2 years now. Probably about 20,000, close to 20,000 miles. No issues, no problems, perfectly good, no rusting. Now, recently in the last 3 to 4 months, behind this fender is an AMS fender tank. It holds about 2 gallons of fluid. And I gotta sit there and say about AMS products, it worked perfectly fine. There's no leaking. The fitment was literally 10 out of 10. I have no problems with that fender tank. It was about $400, and the way that they designed it, they used some kind of like if you know, like a pickup truck, they have that bed material so they won't rust up and stuff. They use that material there, so I doubt that fender tank will rust over time. So I definitely love that performance modification. So that pretty much ends it guys, for when it comes to breathing modifications for this car for power. There's only 2 other things I didn't speak about here outside of cooling and breathing modifications. We haven't spoke about the ways to turn up the boost. The first modification I had installed in this car originally is the Burger Tuning JB4 boost controller. This is not a tune, it's just a boost controller. Allows you to turn the boost up and run up the stock tune, and the car is actually pretty safe. I used it on this car for probably just the Burger Tuning alone for probably a year, almost 2 years. Almost 2 years from when the car was early. I'm talking about before I had no modifications. It was like just the AMS intakes. And no problems, no issues with it at all. But I must say it on video. Actually, must say it on video. When I did have it, randomly, if I'm doing a highway pull in 4th or 5th gear, I got a random ghost code. And it really was a code for nothing. The car ran fine. It just came up with a check engine light. But it was for nothing. It was just literally a code for nothing, and I just never understood it. But it just seems like it was a common thing for the JB4, and it happened a few times. I would say about 3 to 4 times, but outside of that, I never had any problem with the JB4. For the guys who are watching the video right now, I don't know anything about the new wastegate wires where you can adjust the wastegates. When I installed the JB4 in this car, it was all the way up until you can install the fuel wires with the car. So I only know up until the fuel wires with the wastegates. That's a whole nother story that I know nothing about. All right, guys. So anyways, and lastly, now we're gonna talk about tunes. I'm gonna make this part, try to make this super short for you guys who are watching. So hopefully you guys can just stare at the car for a bit while I talk about it. So when it comes to an actual tune for these cars, you're gonna understand this. All the modifications I just stated, you should do those things first. Get your bolt-ons first, from your breathing modifications to your exhaust modifications. You also need to look into cooling. It doesn't make sense for you guys to get, some of you guys got your cars tuned on stock heat exchanger. That is terrible, because at some point when you get tuned, the car is going to heat soak so fast, they have to turn down the boost and turn down the timing on you guys. So you guys are actually not, your car is not at a better, higher performance it should be at. So I would recommend also getting your cooling modifications. If you guys want to go with the Burger Tuning heat exchanger, you can definitely check the links below to that, and the fender tank too. You also have AMS heat exchanger and a few other ones. I have videos about this already on my channel. So if you guys are comment below, I understand that, but I just YouTube it, and I have plenty of videos on some of this stuff. But once you get all the breathing modifications and cooling modifications, then you get your tune, guys. Tuning is going to be very subjective depending on elevation, fuel type, and cooling modifications. And finally, here's the biggest variable: your freaking tuner. And I always sit there and say this in a lot of videos. There's 2 things I look into when it comes to a tuner. One, is it either a company or shop that owns that car and makes parts and modifications and tunes for it? Or number 2, is that tuner or owner of that car, like a regular person? And those 2 people are, or LLCs or company, are the ones that I would trust. So knowing that, guys, that is my recommendation when it comes to getting your car tuned. So guys, if you made it to this part of the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification. Also on top of that, you can contact me at boostinmotion on IG, Facebook, and boostinmotion@gmail.com. If you guys want to support me and support the channel, check out the Digs Only Period shirt, but other novelty shirts below at the Teespring account. And outside of that, guys, all I gotta sit there and say is this, man. I'm super appreciative of you guys hanging out. I'm super appreciative of you guys liking, commenting, and I'm just super appreciative of you guys just hanging out with me. I hope that I give you guys the best information that you can, and I hope that some of the stuff I spoke to, that the links will be below to that you guys purchase these products, and you guys can purchase these products in pride. That's actually very important for me to you. So otherwise than that, guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you guys, appreciate it. You have a good day. Thank you everybody for watching. Do appreciate you guys, love you guys very much. You can also check out the 2 links I posted for some of my other videos. Also on top of that, if you want to purchase some boostinmotion merch, definitely check the link that I posted also. And finally, if you've been watching all my videos and you enjoy them, please hit the link to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.